Richard Fritz. He's going to be speaking about Rallye Glenwood Springs. Okay. Rallye Glenwood Springs is an over-the-road competitive tour event hosted by the MG Car Club Rocky Mountain Center. He's been associated with Little English sports cars for many years, and now that he's retired, they keep him more than busy in his spare time. He retired as an atmospheric physicist with the NOAA Environmental Laboratories in Boulder, but is still associated with mobile emissions sources. He and his wife, Judy, live in the Creekside neighborhood. He warns us that he has been fighting a cough, and if his voice gives out, Judy will have to take over.
It's nice to have a backup on this sort of thing. Okay, many of us played with cars, toy cars, when we were young, and some of us just never outgrew that. In fact, we moved on from toy cars to little English sports cars made by MG. Right now, there's the MG Car Club in the Denver area, has about 200 members, so there are a lot of us with the common interest. Well, what do we do for the fun of it? We spend a lot of time tinkering with these cars because they do take a little attention. We put on car shows and swap stories about what we're doing with them, and we ask for advice, get advice on how to take care of them. And when we really get ambitious, we organize a tour, week-long tour that goes to a place like Yellowstone or Grand Canyon or Moab, and just go out for the fun of it and be gone for about a week on that. And then there is one event that we put on annually, which is the annual Rallye Glenwood Springs. And the sports car rally is not like this. This is if you have ever heard of the rallying in Europe, this is the way they rally there. That's not, we keep our wheels on the ground. We have a very down-to-earth approach to rallying. And a rally in the United States is a time-speed-distance rally, TSD. People get a set of instructions. They have a driver and a navigator. They have instructions which they have to follow, give the speeds and turns and everything. But they don't know where they're going. They know where they're starting from. But then they have to just follow the instructions as best they can. Back in the 1950s, Hazel Marble Hopkins came up with the idea of running a rally from Denver to Glenwood Springs. And we've now been doing that for 60 years. There are a lot of different roads, a lot of different ways we can explore it. Hazel was a great supporter of sports car events, and she was there 50 years after we got started. Now, there is a straight, perfectly good interstate highway that goes from Denver all the way to Glenwood Springs. But that's boring. That's uninteresting. It's monotonous. So we get off and our rally master, the person who figures out the route, figures out all the back roads he can use to make it more interesting. The cars start out one at a time. We got a variety of vehicles of all kinds to run the event. They're all starting out 1 minute apart. Before they get started, the driver and the navigator usually can be found trying to second guess where this route is going to go. But they still have to follow the instructions, and if you get lost, you have to find your way back. We all know that eventually we're getting to Glenwood Springs. That's the whole object of this thing. Somewhere down the road, we come upon what's known as a checkpoint, and that's the end of the first leg. At this point, they're timed in. Everything is timed to WWV time to the second. And they come to a stop, and then they're given more instructions, and they set out on the next leg with a clean slate. And hopefully along the way, they're going to have a chance to kind of enjoy the scenery, because there's a lot of neat roads and scenery in the state of Colorado. And it's a good excuse to get out and just enjoy it and have fun with other people with sports cars. You might recognize this is over by Red Cliff. And sometimes there are pauses at places like Independence Pass. As I said, the event's put on early in June. Still a lot of snow up there sometimes. Sometimes it's questionable even if we'll be able to get over Independence Pass, but that we're counting on. We'd like to find a scenic route, goes to different places. People get a chance to take a lot of photographs. Sometimes we wander off into the western canyons of Colorado. And again, looking for a lot of very interesting scenery in the state of Colorado. We're very fortunate to have the sort of terrain that we can use for a rally. Sometimes you can pity the poor checkpoint workers, the guys who have to time the cars in and out when we get into a snowstorm. This was up at the top of Tennessee Pass, and everybody was doing the best they could under the conditions, and everything went as well as could be hoped for, after all. And we like to drive the sports cars with the top down, but if the weather turns bad, as it did there, the tops go up, side curtains go in, and we press on regardless. That's the name of the game, press on regardless, whatever the conditions. So, all's well and good as long as you can keep driving down the road. Occasionally there are misfortunes, mechanical problems with the cars. After all, these are 40-year-old cars we're driving, and who knows what's going to happen to them. But it's just part of the game to have to fix something along the way, and usually it can get fixed. These are cars that are fixable. And on the other hand, sometimes the problems we have are not mechanical. Over on the western slope, you encounter a lot of cattle drives. And when you come to a cattle drive, you can't go through there. You have to wait till they go by. There are allowances on a rally for time delay if you get delayed by a cattle drive or train across or something like that. Eventually, almost everybody gets to Glenwood Springs at the end of this, driving usually through the Glenwood Canyon, which is a magnificent piece of landscape. It was much more interesting before they civilized it with the interstate highway going through. But anyway, we get to Glenwood Springs. The day after the rally, there's a car show in Two Rivers Park alongside the Colorado River. Everybody gets to tell stories about what they encountered on the route, and that's part of it. And eventually there is the trophy presentation. This trophy happens to have been donated by an MG dealer back in the 1960s for the best MG performance on the event. Well, that trophy is so big that it's a problem how you put that in a small